أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. السلام عليكم. So Mubarak for everybody, Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, this is the first lecture in Ramadan, and this is actually the one before the last. So I hope by now we have had some preparation to get the best of this month, and I'm sure Allah will open the doors for many of you, and inshallah for us to ascend in His path. We are inshallah coming very close to understand what do we know by knowing Allah, and this is mainly walking through these steps to reach to more realities. We keep on, as we said, these steps are not something that we just step and leave. It's continuous action, and that's why we keep on trying to get rid of the heavy weight, trying to keep on getting the glimpse, and with this we keep on appreciating how time is important, and once we do this appreciation, we will live in the reality of the presence, that we are in the present, usually in the present, and we try to feel who is also in the present, and this is the only one and only eternal one, God Almighty. We went through a few steps now, and the last one was the remembrance. And the remembrance, as you remember, it's our defending armor from this verse. Those who are aware of Allah's presence, when an evil group of shaitan assault them, they remember Allah, and that would work as an armor for them. So they remember Allah, and so they see the truth. I'm unfortunately obliged to leave two steps. So I'm taking you with the rope and pull you up quickly. So although they are very important steps, but with our limitation of time, we will go to the practical, the actually more practical, all of them practical. So adherence to God, and then fleeing to God and running away to God. We are going to go up from them, and today we will reach to self-discipline, which is the Arabic name in the book is Riyada. Now Riyada is so important, and many of our ulama, they call even the way to Allah is Riyada, because this is the training. I mean, you keep on training, you step up, and then you train and step up, and you continue on training and step up, and without training you cannot really go further. So literally, what does it mean? What does Riyada mean? The verb rather means taming. So, and usually used to when we capture a wild animal and then we tame it. And the practical one is about horses. So you capture the wild horse and you tame it. Tame it so you make it listen to you and understand what you tell them. And human beings have this amazing power to tame. I mean, even in the circus you can see that they tame lion. How would you imagine that you can tame a lion? So even the lion can tame. And the question is why this powerful human being ability not used on themselves to tame themselves and to control themselves. And that's what we are trying to learn. So how does it start? Usually when you want to tame something, you need to feel the need for it. And when we feel that this thing, which is us, is so difficult to tame, we are afraid of it. Why is that? Because afraid actually of its consequences. From this verse, mu'minun, and they who give what they give, while their hearts are fearful, because they will be returning to their Lord. So this fear of the results, it's what makes us walk to it. What's the problem here? The problem is fear. But the fear should take us to somewhere else. We should not stay in the fear. where should it go? It should go to, and those who strive for us, we will surely guide them to our ways. For verily Allah is with those who do right. So we have to feel His presence with us. So we are fearful and we walk, but we should not make this fear stopping us. So we continue to walk and we feel that He is the one who is giving us this power to move and move. Now, the first thing is, what do we tame? So we said we tame ourselves. So we should know more about ourselves. So the first thing is, we should know more about what we are going to tame. And these are ourselves or our souls. There are types of the souls. Normally we are just one, but the reality is we are many. And does that remind you of something? Right. So we are the, what's his name? Golem, right. So we have these two powers, the commanding soul, like this, the bad golem, and the blaming soul, which is bring things back to normality if they can. So nafs al-amara and nafs al-lawama. Let's talk about the commanding soul. Now the commanding soul is very important. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it for us. It's not for no reason. It is important. It's the one which keeps us going, because it focuses on what? On protect. If I'm talking about myself, this commanding soul is the one which wants me to stay alive. It is the one which, but where? Alive in this material world. So it's the one who protects me. It's the one who asks me to flee. It's the one who wants me to eat, so to keep it going. The problem is, it doesn't have a mind. So it overdo or underdo things. And that's its problem. So it has faculties and abilities to do things. And these faculties, because of lack of control of this commanding soul, well, lack of mind control and wisdom control, it either overdo things or underdo things. While the blaming soul tries to bring them to the middle. So let's take the first faculty. It's the predator power. The predator power, it's again like animal, but those are the predator in the jungle, lions and all the cat family and these things. It has many traits, but usually in the over or under. So if we underdo one of these traits, we will be coward. If we overdoing it, reckless. So what's this trait? If I am coward, what's against it? Opposite to it? Brave. That's if I overdo bravery and I think, oh, I'm so brave, I'll be reckless. So, right. So bravery is one of the things that if we control it, it can lead us to that. But otherwise, usually it takes us either to recklessness or to cowardice. Either we are very weak and we are afraid, or we are violent and attacking everybody. So what is the middle of it?
Strength.
Or mildness. So when somebody attack me, either I'm very weak, I'll just let them do anything, or I just go violent and attack. The other thing is lowness and arrogance. So either I feel I'm really low and everybody better than me, or I'm so arrogant. What's the middle?
Self-esteem.
That's right. So confidence. When we go overconfident, we'll be arrogant, and that's unfortunately the common style now. Because the mutakabbir is everywhere, even in ourselves. Lowness is the opposite to it. Or either we angry or indolent. It's very difficult to get us angry, which is sometimes not good, because even sometimes we see that somebody steal our things and we don't get angry whatsoever, which is not good. What's the middle? It's tolerance and patience. So I'm patient, I'm not angry, but this patience not because I'm weak or I don't do anything. No, I'm not indolent, right? So this is the power that if we control it, it can bring something good, but usually it's out of control. If we don't get the mind to do something, it's out of control, and then the poor lawama comes and corrects it. And the other faculty is the animalistic desire and power. And under eating, overeating, so the middle will be eating wisely, right? The other thing is either we so overindulge in the sexual desire, or we don't care whatsoever. Both wrong, because it's there for a reason. In the middle is when have chastity. So chastity is we don't do it in the wrong time, because Allah told us, Allah watching. But we do it when He wants us to. Stinginess and overspending. What's in the middle?
Spending wisely.
Generosity. So the generous is not, it's definitely not stingy, but it's not an overspender. It does not kill himself, and don't do things. The generosity is not that I chuck a big party and invite everybody. This is not generosity. This is overspending. This is not wise. And then this faculty. And this faculty is a problematic faculty, the illusion power. Because the commanding soul use it to defeat or to deceive the blaming soul. To understand this, we need to understand the partialities and holistic things. So when we deal with anything, we have, and if we come up to a quick conclusion, we are giving a conclusion according to incomplete information. And that's why we call it partial look. We need to take a holistic look, and the holistic look will take us to totally different horizon, and we will understand things totally differently. So usually illusion use the partial look, while intellect use the holistic look. To make this more understandable, let's see this.
I'll tell you a little bit about the irrational behavior, not yours, of course, other people's. After being at MIT for a few years, I realized that writing academic papers is not that exciting. I don't know how many of those you read, but it's not fun to read and often not fun to write, even worse to write. So I decided to try and write something more fun. And I came up with an idea that I will write a cookbook. And the title for my cookbook was going to be Dining Without Crumbs, The Art of Eating Over the Sink. And it was going to be a look at life through the kitchen. And I was quite excited about this. I was going to talk about a little bit about research, a little bit about the kitchen. We do so much in the kitchen, I thought this would be interesting. And I wrote a couple of chapters and I took it to MIT Press, and they said, cute but not for us, go and find somebody else. I tried other people, and everybody said the same thing, cute, not for us. Until somebody said, look, if you're serious about this, you first have to write a book about your research. You have to publish something, and then you'll get the opportunity to write something else. If you really want to do it, you have to do it. So I said, I really don't want to write about my research. I do this all day long. I want to write something else, something a bit more free, less constrained. And this person was very forceful and said, look, that's the only way you'll ever do it. So I said, okay, if I have to do it, I had a sabbatical. I said, I'll write about my research if there's no other way, and then I'll get to do my cookbook. So I wrote a book on my research, and it turns out to be quite fun in two ways. First of all, I enjoyed writing, but the more interesting thing was that I started learning from people. It's a fantastic time to write because there's so much feedback you can get from people. People write me about their personal experience and about their examples and what they disagree and nuances. And even being here, the last few days, I've known really heights of obsessive behavior I never thought about, which I think is just fascinating. I want to tell you a little bit about irrational behavior, and I want to start by giving you some examples of visual illusion as a metaphor for rationality. So think about these two tables, and you must have seen this illusion. If I ask you what's longer, the vertical line on the table on the left or the horizontal line on the table on the right, which one seems longer? Can anybody see anything but the left one being longer? No, right? It's impossible. But the nice thing about visual illusion is we can easily demonstrate mistakes. So I can put some lines on, doesn't help. I can animate the lines, and to the extent you believe me, I didn't shrink the lines, which I didn't. I've proven to you that your eyes were deceiving you. Now, the interesting thing about this is when I take the lines away, it's as if you haven't learned anything in the last minute. You can't look at this and say, okay, now I see reality as it is, right? It's impossible to overcome this sense that this is indeed longer. Our intuition is really fooling us in a repeatable, predictable, consistent way. There's almost nothing we can do about it aside from taking a ruler and starting to measure it. Here's another one. This is one of my favorite illusions. What do you see the color that the top arrow is pointing to? The brown, thank you. The bottom one? Yellow. Turns out they're identical. Can anybody see them as identical? Very, very hard. I can cover the rest of the cube up, and if I cover the rest of the cube, you can see that they're identical. And if you don't believe me, you can get the slide later and do some arts and crafts and see that they're identical. But again, it's the same story, that if we take the background away, the illusion comes back, right? There's no way for us not to see this illusion. I guess maybe if you're colorblind, I don't think you can see that. I want you to think about illusion as a metaphor. You know, vision is one of the best things we do. We have a huge part of our brain dedicated to vision, bigger than dedicated to anything else. We do more vision, more hours of the day than we do anything else. And we're evolutionarily designed to do vision. And if we have these predictable, repeatable mistakes in vision, in which we're so good at, what's the chance that we don't make even more mistakes in something we're not as good at? For example, financial decision making. Something we don't have an evolutionary reason to do, we don't have a specialized part of the brain, and we don't do that many hours of the day. And the argument is that on those cases, it might be the issue that we actually make many more mistakes. And worse, not have an easy way to see them. Because in visual illusions, we could easily demonstrate the mistakes. In cognitive illusion, it's much, much harder to demonstrate to people the mistakes. So I want to show you some cognitive illusion, or decision-making illusion in the same way. Here are two examples of this principle. This was an ad from The Economist a few years ago that gave us three choices. An online subscription for $59, a print subscription for $125, or you could get both for $125. Now, I looked at this and I called up The Economist and I tried to figure out what were they thinking. And they passed me from one person to another, until eventually I got to a person who was in charge of the website, and I called them up, and they went to check what was going on, and the next thing I know, the ad is gone, and no explanation. So I decided to do the experiment that I would have loved The Economist to do with me. I took this and I gave it to 100 MIT students. I said, what would you choose? And these are the market share. Most people wanted the combo deal. Thankfully, nobody wanted the dominated options. It means our students can read. But now, if you have an option that nobody wants, you would take it off, right? So I printed another version of this when I eliminated the middle option, and I gave it to another 100 students. Here's what happens. Now the most popular option became the least popular, and the least popular became the most popular. What was happening is that option that was useless in the middle was useless in the sense that nobody wanted it. But it wasn't useless in the sense that it helped people figure out what they wanted. In fact, relative to the option in the middle, which was get only the print for $125, the print and web for $125 looked like a fantastic deal. And as a consequence, people chose it. The general idea here, by the way, is that we actually don't know our preferences that well. And because we don't know our preferences that well, we're susceptible to all of these influences from the external forces, the defaults, the particular options that are presented to us, and so on. What is the general point? The general point is that when we think about economics, we have this beautiful view of human nature. You know, what a piece of work is man, how noble in reason. We have this view of ourselves, of others. The behavioral economics perspective is slightly less generous to people. In fact, in medical terms, that's our view. But there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is, I think, kind of the reason that behavioral economics is interesting and exciting. You know, are we Superman or are we Homer Simpson? When it comes to building the physical world, we kind of understand our limitations. We build steps and we build these things that not everybody can use, obviously, but we build them. we understand our limitations and we build around it. But for some reason, when it comes to the mental world, when we design things like healthcare and retirement and stock markets, we somehow forget the idea that we're limited. And I think if we understood our cognitive limitations in the same way that we understand our physical limitation, even if they don't stare us in the face in the same way, we could design a better world. And that, I think, is the hope of this thing. Thank you very much.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So I hope that would give an understanding of how illusion actually controls us, and we are walking, and how everything around us here is trying to deceive us, and that's we are living in this continuous ignorance in a way. How does that apply on our life? Just imagine if you have a quarrel with somebody came and attacked you, hey, and you will start to be furious and very angry. Why is he talking to me like that? Stop here and try to disengage yourself, not from the quarrel. So try to come up above this, and you look at what made this man be like this. What could be the reason? And if I'm in his position, would I do the same? Probably. And once you have this holistic view, you will find it was not a problem. Actually, there's nothing to make you angry or to reply in anger. And probably that's how our imams used to look at things. When, you know, the famous story when this man came in and talked badly about Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he calmly invited him. So the holistic view, it helps. It helps to come out from this illusion power or illusion faculty of the commanding soul. Once we do that, we can really have a much better control. Usually the blaming soul tries to correct. It comes after we make the mistake, and we have this blame inside us. It can kill us sometimes. It's trying to bring us to normality, bring us back to the middle, back from the extremes that we are in. Now, this is not enough, because the battle continues. There is a continuous battle between the commanding soul with its two big powers, the predator power and the animalistic desire power, trying to over or underdo things because that would give her comfort. And our blaming soul is trying to normalize and put everything back to middle. But the problem is the commanding soul has this overpowerful power, which is the illusion power, as we saw in this clip, which can really deceive things. I mean, sometimes we don't know what's happening. I have to say, I mean, last time when with my daughter we were studying the DNA, and we found that a few things in the DNA, it has no coding for genes, and the scientists think that they are useless. Well, we know that we don't know everything, and from this, these actually work in this, probably similar to the way that has been shown to us. If you have something to highlight the white, you need a black. So you need these borders, and these borders can highlight something that you will never look at before. So the only way to control this illusion is by having a holistic view, and this holistic view is the intellect power. And once we get the intellect power to control both the commanding soul and the blaming soul, we will reach to the calm and tranquil soul, which is nafs al-mutma'inna. When we reach to the nafs al-mutma'inna, it's when nothing in this world will affect us, because we know that everything has come from subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we know that the nafs al-mutma'inna, the best example we know of is Imam Hussein alayhi salam. هون ما نزل علي إنه بعين الله. It was easy for me. Everything around him in Karbala was easy for him because it's under the eyes of Allah. So he knows that it's through the system that Allah has created, and he's happy with that. Now, so this is what we have to tame. Now, the question is, riyada or self-discipline, what is it in Islam? Because once we talk about riyada or self-discipline, the thing comes to our mind is meditation, right? Or some practical soul-related type thing. How is it different in Islam? How are we different than other religions or other groups or other school of thoughts. First, we are different in the method, in how do we do it. We are different in how we apply these methods, and we are different in our aim, and why are we doing it, and we are different in what benefit we can get and how we appreciate this benefit. So quickly we'll go through the method. What do we do? How do we do the, let's call it the meditation? The main difference for Islam, comparison with the others, we don't kill the faculty, we train it. So you can see that some of the Hindu monks or something like that, they sit in a position for 10 years to control whatever, I don't know what they want to control that, but then they get with joints which are very stiff and everything, but the reality they didn't control it. And probably one of the worst example is what happened in Sri Lanka, when the Tamil used to have a fight with the government, and they did lots of atrocities, and those guys, they decided after that, when there was some peace time, they wanted to punish themselves. So what they did, the sling of the crane, so they put this in their back, so they hang themselves in the sling, the hook, of the crane. So they put it in their skin, they hang themselves, and this crane has to go in a very rough road, and they keep on bumping to punish themselves. Now, did they really punish themselves? I mean, if a fight will come again, are they going not to do the atrocity? No, not really. This is not the way to do it. The Islamic way is different. So Islamic way doesn't kill the power. This story, we said it before, this gentleman who came to the Western country and he decided to live in separation in a cave, and then his ustad told him, well, you may as well make yourself blind and deaf, because it's better not to use these faculties. The reality is, even if you do that, you haven't controlled the inside. So worship in a cave is not what we do. We don't separate ourselves. The actual reality of this reality is to go in and try to tame yourself. And we do that by learning how to say no for the badness. And that's the difficult thing. When something bad happens in front of us, can we say no or not? When an invitation comes to go for a drink, can we say no or not? When an invitation comes where there's lots of music, can we say no or not? And these examples. So the reality is, practice is the main thing in Islam. Theory is a start, but it's practice which we're looking for. And this is a very nice story. Probably some of you has heard it. It's Hassan al-Mu'addab with his ustad Abu Sa'id Abu Khair. So Hassan used to be a very rich gentleman, and he wanted to come to Abu Sa'id Abu Khair, who's very highly ethical scholar, and he teach ethics and self-training. So he decided to come and ask him, can I be one of your students? He said, well, you have to pay a lot for that. Oh, he said, don't worry, I'm from a rich family, that doesn't worry me whatsoever. He said, no, not that way. I said, okay, what do you want me to do? Can I come in today? He said, oh yeah, but there is a condition. You have to do what I tell you to do, and you have to accept it. He said, fair enough. So the first test is what? Is you have to go to the end of the city. You slaughter a lamb for us. You take the meat yourself. You put the meat in cloth bag, and you go through the bazaar. And actually, all the bazaar knows Hassan very well, because he's a big merchant. And then you come to us. He said, no way. No, before that, Hassan said, fair enough, that's very easy. I have lots of servants who will do that. I said, no, wait. You are doing this by yourself, alone. Why? I can't do it. No. You want to be a student here? That's the way to go. Right. So he decided to do it. He went, slaughtered, put the meat. Now the meat usually, when it's a fresh meat, keep on dripping. Right. And he has to go through the bazaar. And he was so much ashamed, because it was a shame for somebody rich like him to work like a servant. He was so much ashamed, and he then reached to his ustad, and he told him, alright, I've done that. He said, no, well, this is not the end of it. You have to go to the other side of the city, through the houses, and you have to wash all this meat, because, there's lots of blood in it, and this is on the river, and then you come back with it on your back through the houses to come here. So he did that again, and then he reached his ustad. He said, why do you want to shame me? Why do you want to do this to me? He said, well, now you could manage to be my teacher, because you tamed your arrogance. You tamed yourself, and that's the way to go. So that's the reality of our training. Our training is in Islam. Our training in Islam is practical. Now, the second one is how we apply it. The main application we take it from Imam Ali alayhi salam. He said, apply God's legislation is the training of a believer. We don't need any type of very special meditation. Our fiqh is our meditation. Really applying the fiqh is good enough to self-train. There's lots of rules that you have to follow. Even some of them you don't understand it. So actually you are taming this very reckless something inside us by doing it. And it's a very nice story from Allama Tabatabai. One of the students told him, he had another student in Hausa who's with him in the same room, and that student every night he put lots of nails, lots of nails on his bed, and he go naked, and not totally naked, but he goes take his upper part, top part, and then he sleeps on it. And when he tells him, why are you doing that, he said, I want to control this self in me. So they went and asked Allama Tabatabai, is this right? He said, no, this is nothing in Islam like that. And what he says is, sorry, what happened here? Nails are already there, because in everywhere we walk there is a nail for us, isn't it? Because there is a temptation. There is a temptation to do wrong, and this is a nail. So you don't need to sleep on nails. Actually, you live in nails. Right? It is everywhere around you, and that's what our riyada is. And that's what our Prophet ﷺ says to Abu Dhar, O Abu Dhar, a day will come when holding this religion is like holding a burning charcoal. That's how hard it can be, and this is the best training. But you know that many of the Hindu or those who are doing some meditation, they can walk on fire. So even that charcoal, we can live with it, we can walk on it. And Imam Ali alayhi salam told us, I train myself by observing God's order. This is the best training. So that's the big difference between our application and the others' application. Allah has given us the way to train ourselves, and inshallah we can go through it and do it. Third thing is, we are different in the aim. We are not aiming to do that just to be so good so people see us as so good. One of our ulama, he asked his teacher, told him, is this real? Is it Islamic what we are doing, and in doing this taming ourselves? So the answer came from the Ustad, is it according to God's law? He said, yes, we are not doing anything else. The big question came then, is it for what Allah wants or for what the self wants? I mean, I may actually go through all this hardship of taming myself, but I will be very happy when somebody come and I say, oh, mashallah, how religious is that? So really I'm doing all this hardship to get some fame, and this will actually deprive me of the benefit. So mainly we have to train ourselves to reach to the stage that I want, but I don't want. A big word. And the last thing is the benefit. What is the benefit from self-training? For us, we have to think that the main benefit for the self-training, whether we get the benefit or not, it's quite variable. Because if we think that it's like an equation, do that, get that, it's not that way. Probably you all hear that not all those who go fishing get a fish, right? So all of us go to training, but are we going to get that place? No, there is more to it. We can work hard, but without Almighty mercy, we will reach nowhere. And this is not what we have to reach to this stage. That this is not what I did, but وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. My success, nothing but from Allah. On Him I depend, and for Him I return. And to make this more understandable, there's a very nice story that somebody who went to visit a rich man, and this rich man has a fence, big fence outside, and there is a dog. And when he visited him, the dog kept on barking and barking and trying, and then jumped on the fence and tried to follow him up, and he's trying to calm him down, and the dog is just not getting there. And this man really freaked out, and because this dog is really want to kill him, until he starts shouting to his inviter, please come out and control this. And once the inviter came out, the dog calmed down. So he understood then it's not whatever we do. He tried everything to tame this dog, but it's only when the owner came. And that's our relation with God. We can do all these things, but if He is not the one who will help us to calm it down, we won't be successful. So that's the difference. Now, what type of self-discipline we have? We have a direct type, and we have the indirect type. And for the direct, we have the theoretical and the practical. Let's start with the theoretical. First, study itself is a discipline, isn't it? When I study, I mean, not many people will find study is a very nice thing to do. Although many people also like it, but in general, to train myself to sit and study or walk and study, like some people, it needs lots of training. Now the question is why I'm doing this, why I'm training myself, and how much. If you think about if you are training to get your master degree or university thing, you pay a lot for it, isn't it? Why do you pay a lot for it? What are you expecting? Why are you spending time? Why are you losing even your connection? Your friends hate you because you don't call them. Your relative blame you because where are you? You are just hiding in your room reading. What's wrong? Why are we doing all that? Because we are expecting this degree will raise us up, isn't it? Either money-wise or knowledge-wise or social status-wise. So we do it to be upgraded. So in planning is most important to reach the goal. Let's get the example of a challenge or a battle. Right. The first thing is, in the battle, you want to know who's the enemy, right? Otherwise, who are we fighting? We need to know more information about the enemy, and probably in our cases, this commanding soul is one of them, or the illusion part is one of them. So we need to know more about it. Second, we need to know what's the battlefield. Where are we going to fight? Is it mountainous? Is it hilly? Is it just a flat thing that we need to put some trenches to hide in? So all this information is very important, and then we need to know how can we make ourselves better than the enemy or stronger. So all this, if we want to apply it on our life, we will find that we need to study. So theoretical knowledge is very important, because first we need to know ourselves. When we go for some place, for example, if we decide that I want to work in that particular place, now that particular place, there's lots of material attraction in it. There is a lot of dangers in it, dangers in a way that will detract me from Allah's way. Am I able to go there? And if I'm not, what should I do? To start with, should I go there or not? So all these are very important aspects that we have to look at it before we go, and that's why we have to study for this. And now, how can we be stronger? Or to start with, can we be stronger? Are we now stronger? So all this, before we do our life things, we need to study them and to go for it. And that's what Imam Ali says, the essence of training is to study wisdom. So without the wisdom, if we think that we can do it alone, it's a problem. So we have to study the beliefs, ilahiyat, is because these are the usul, the origin of thinking, and so that's tawheed and prophethood. We need, if we reach to that level where we understand tawheed very well, everything else will be much easier. Definitely, if we want to train ourselves, we need to know manners. What our prophets and Ahlul Bayt did, how did they apply it? Because we want to be this manifestation of the names of Allah, and that's the only way of doing it, by studying them. And definitely the way to reach is through fiqh and rules, because Allah didn't send us this for nothing. These are the road for it. There are lots of things, and Ramadan inshallah filled with this. So the recommended actions through the year, you can find it in Mafatih al-Janan, in Amal al-Sana. There's lots of book, and these things in these books are so beautiful. I mean, with the story of Abbas Qumi, the writer of Mafatih al-Janan, he wrote the book and he wanted to publish it, but then he said no. He gave it and he delayed it a year to see whether he can apply what he wrote. And until he could manage to apply what he wrote, then he published it. And he kept it so low profile, to the level that even his father, actually he published it without a name to start with, and even his father, he sent him a letter telling him, I hear that you are not doing well, and if you want to do well, read this book. And the father didn't know that it's his son who wrote it. So, now how all of us read it and depend on it. So this barakah that came to this book, because it has reality in essence, the essence of what this person gave to this book is through his real action and heart action. Now, how can we step from theory to practice? The main thing is we need to understand first, each one of us has a potential of mind. We have this potential in ourselves. Sorry, the translation is not good here. So the baby, when they get born, all of them, they have reflex movement, but also they have the potential for the mind. And then gradually they start to learn, and when they learn, they have some of the things that are a second nature. For example, math. To start with, you teach them what 2 plus 2 is, but after that it's second nature. They directly know it's 4. The same with their toilet training, the same with their food. I mean, all these things come to start as a second nature, and the same with thinking and the simple thinking start to be their second nature, and this is aql bil malaka. And then it comes to practice, because now they start to apply these already mind by nature faculty in their life, and by practicing this will grow up and have more depth in it, and once it have more, but still they need to think about it till they reach the level where they don't need to think about it anyway, because it's mind background. It's like when you go to a scholar, for example, religious scholar, when you ask them a question, they don't need to go for Google, right? They know exactly where they guide you. So they say, go to that book, read it in there. They don't think about it. This is in their background. So they reach to this stage. So these are the stages of transformation from theoretical, and by practice it will be part of us, and that's where we want to reach, inshallah. So this is what's the practical training, and inshallah we will leave this to the next lecture. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.